Okay, my name is John Wood. I've lived here about 10 years.
Awesome. So, John, what kind of research do you typically do before you hire somebody to work in your house?
Well, I do internet research, look at Facebook and other public domain sources of information, and I also ask around.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like referrals are huge. Like we love when people are like, oh yeah, like this past customer has talked about it. Is there one of those that kind of weighs heavier on you in your decision?
Well, referrals tend to weigh heavier on my decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to things like this.
That makes sense. I'm sure you have been a homeowner, but have you had any horror stories with contractors?
I had a horror story on this project that, of course, didn't have anything to do with you guys. I hired a contractor. It's fair to say I didn't do enough due diligence, but they ended up coming out, demolishing about half of my old deck and leaving the trash on my lawn for me to deal with. So that was after 6 months of waiting on them to come start the project. So I had to fire them, and that's when I started looking around and came up with Smith.
Talking about going from them to finding us, what, to the best of your recollection, like led you to us? How did you find us?
Some of it was internet research. Some of it was I saw some of your signs around. So I started looking at work you guys were doing, and I liked what I saw.
What did that research look like going into us? Was it mostly Facebook, or was it Google, or kind of just a mixture?
lot of it was Facebook.
Okay.
I looked at Facebook a lot. And that's your signs I saw first, and then I saw some things on Facebook, and everything I could come up with was universally good.
Yeah.
So I started digging a little deeper, and again, everything I could come up with was universally good. So I thought I would just go ahead and get estimates from you guys and see how you compared to other companies. And your estimates were comparable to other companies, fair, reasonable, but your quality of construction was much better than other companies. So in terms of value for the dollar, you guys were the clear winner.
Yeah, that's awesome. So on Facebook, did that look like more prior projects that you were looking at, or was it reviews, or what on Facebook do you typically, and this could be generally?
Well, you like to read reviews by other customers, so prior work. As far as stuff that was in progress, when I saw your sign in various places, I just stopped and looked.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of get a peek of ongoing projects. I totally understand that. So you called what? Do you remember the estimate process and like how?
Yeah, the estimate process was very organized. One of your principals came out here and we talked about what I wanted, and she had a pretty good mental image of the design and how she thought we should do it, and then made some recommendations to me that I accepted. And then she went back and prepared a formal estimate. That was emailed to me, and I got to electronically accept or reject, and I accepted it, and we moved on.
So after you did accept it, do you remember like the process to schedule and stuff? What was your experience like with that?
It was very good. I always got a notification email that told me when you guys were going to be here, so I knew exactly when you were going to be here and when you weren't. So that efficient is very very well organized, because you did it electronically. So
I feel like that's the worst.
I would usually ask about when you're going to be here, and you guys would tell me, and then you would meet your commitment.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you feel like the process went after you accepted it and scheduled it, like the construction aspect of it?
Well, that's one of the better parts of the whole story. Is you guys were prompt, you were on time, you were here when you said you were going to be here. probably most importantly to me as a customer, and I'll tell you I'm an engineer, so I'm pretty picky when it comes to projects, is anytime I came up with an issue or a concern, you guys dealt with it adequately and you dealt with it promptly. So I had no issues at all with how things were handled. These things will come up as you work the project, and you guys do a fantastic job of dealing with that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's always good. I feel like, because I mean, problems arise no matter what it is, and no matter how much plans go into it. So I'm glad to hear you had a good experience with the problem-solving aspect of how we did it. So wait, when was this deck actually completed?
It's completed in October of last year.
Okay. How often are you out here? I feel like I'd be out here quite a bit.
When the weather's like this, I'm out here every day.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Oh my gosh. So how do you, clearly you're like happy with it, but how do you feel about the decision to go with us since it's been coming up on a year?
Well, I haven't had any significant issues here. The one or two I have had, you guys took care of promptly. So I have no regrets. 6 or 7 months later, everything is still fine from that perspective.
That's awesome. Well, that's all the questions I really had. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add or say.
Well, what I would add is, again, you guys are definitely competitive cost-wise, but when you look at the quality of your work, the value per dollar is much greater with you guys than it is for most contractors around here. So you've got my strongest recommendation for future work from anybody who needs something like this done.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate it, and honestly,